Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be making homemade tomato sauce. Um, this is actually a tomato basil recipe, so we're going to go ahead and get that going. This will probably make anywhere between 3 to 6 pints. It's kind of hard to tell. I'll boil 6 pints just to be on the safe side. Depends on how the tomatoes break down and become part of the consistency that we're looking for our tomato sauce. So over here you'll see we have our pot here full of water getting hot, and I have washed the tomatoes. You're going to need about 12 pounds of tomatoes. I'm just kind of guessing it as far as the poundage that I have. I don't think I quite have 12 pounds, but that's okay. That's why I said I'm going to go ahead and get 6 jars ready, and then we'll just fill up what we have. So I'm going to let this water come to a boil. Then we're going to put the tomatoes in the water for about 3 minutes, depending on when I just noticed that the skins are starting to like shrivel and peel off. First, you want to make sure that you core the tomato before you put it in, so that way it makes it a lot easier to come off when you go to peel it. We'll show you that process now. And if you see here, look how huge these tomatoes are compared to my hand. They're pretty large. These are beefsteak tomatoes that we grow in the garden. The larger ones are. And then we have some smaller ones over here as well. And they're just about palm size. The average slicing tomato. These were celebrities. So I have all the tomatoes here. You're just going to take this part out. Now there is some fancy little cores, but I don't have one. So I'm just going to use my little favorite knife here that I use for multiple things. And we're just going to cut around. And pop that out. Maybe. There we go. So we just took the core out and left it like that. We're going to do that for the rest of these, and then we'll see if the water is boiling to drop them in. You also want to turn around to the bottom of your tomato and just put an X to kind of score the skin. So our water is good and hot, and we're going to start putting the tomatoes in. I'm going to use this here just so I don't burn myself, and I can gently put it in there. These are some really big tomatoes. Put those in there. So we're going to do that, like I said, we're going to let the process go for about 2 or 3 minutes, depending on how the peelings look, and I'll bring you back. You can see that the tomatoes are starting to split. That means that the skin is starting to loosen up. It's hard to see with the steam. But it is starting to split right there. Several of them are. So we're going to give it about another minute, and then we will put them in an ice cold water bath. So we're going to go ahead and scoop these out. Put them in a nice cold water bath. And as you can see, it's split. And it's very hot. Try not to touch it. And you can also put them in the freezer until you're ready to use them, and then let them defrost, and the skins will come right off for you then too. I didn't put these in the freezer. I was home, so I just did it this way. So you can have two options. Like I said, I was home today, so I just went ahead and did this method. Boil them until the skin starts to peel, and then peel them. Or if, say, that you don't have enough tomatoes to make a batch, or too little tomatoes to make a bigger batch that you want, or you're working full-time like I do. I just happened to be home this week because of dealing with the arrangements of my family that we lost. But you can put them in the freezer until you get the amount that you need or that you want to make your tomato sauce with, and pull them out and let them sit on in your sink or wherever, or in a big bowl so that they can defrost. Then once they're fully defrosted and you take them out, the skins will slide right off. So we have let them cool down, and I'll show you here how it started to peel. So then you just take it and peel it off. And you don't want to, well, you can if you want to, but what I do is I save the skin. I don't want the skin in my sauce, but I do save it and dehydrate it, because you can take powder, the skin as powder, and make a tomato paste from it. See how that looks there? Make a tomato paste from it. You can also make ketchup from it. So there's no reason to waste any of it. As you know, that I like to self-preserve and be self-reliant and make my own things, and I don't like to waste any part of the food if possible. So I'm going to go ahead and finish peeling these. And then we'll move on to the next step. We got the tomato skins here. We'll put those away to dehydrate later. And we have our tomatoes all peeled. I'm just going to take my little smasher and kind of smash them down a little bit to break them up. Some people can use a, an emulsion blender, you know, anything else that you want, a chopper, food processor, I should say. But I can just do it this way, and I'm perfectly happy with the way that it turns out. I like to leave a little bit of chunks in there as I can, and as it cooks down, it will break up as well. And if your tomatoes are ripe completely, they will break up pretty easily. At this point, we have our tomatoes nice and smushed up in there. We're going to go ahead and add some of our ingredients before we start cooking down. The first one is going to be 3 tablespoons of packed brown sugar. That's just going to help with the acidity of the tomatoes. So we'll put 3 tablespoons and make sure it is good and packed in there. Then you're going to add your salt. Now you're going to need 3 teaspoons of salt. You can use iodine salt, but preferably you want to use some kind of kosher salt, or in our case we're going to be using our Himalayan pink salt, fine grade. We just like it better. So we're going to add 3 teaspoons of that. We don't want to make it too salty. If you go to use your spaghetti sauce, and you can always add more salt. So we're going to go ahead and, well, I grabbed the wrong one here. This is one we need. 3 teaspoons. That's also going to bring the flavor of your tomatoes out. There's 3 teaspoons of the salt, whether it be kosher, pink Himalayan. I don't recommend iodine. Next thing that we're going to add will be the balsamic vinegar. I have it in my little handy dandy thing here. And that is going to be 1 big tablespoon. Balsamic vinegar. And then you're going to need black pepper. And that's going to be 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And like I said, you can adjust these seasonings when you go to use the spaghetti sauce as needed. Then we're going to give this a good stir. Get that all in there. Alright. And that is now ready to go to the stove. It is on the stove. I have it on a medium-high heat, and we will cook this slowly, depending on the consistency that you like your pasta sauce and pizza sauce and things like that, because this is just a basic sauce that you can use for any of those kind of pasta dishes and things. It could take 60 minutes to 90 minutes, and what I do is every so often, to keep it from burning, I'll just come in and give it a good stir. And you want to leave it uncovered because you want that juice to evaporate and get down the sauce consistency that you want. And you can use the tomato puree thing to omit the seeds and stuff like that, but seeds don't bother us, so we just tend to leave them in there. So we'll keep checking on this and stirring occasionally, and we will be back when it is ready to continue the process. You can see that it has reduced down significantly. I'm going to let it boil just a little bit longer, about 10 minutes or so, or 15, and then we're going to add the spices. So here we have about a cup of mixed herbs. We have the like oregano, parsley, just different Italian herbs in there. And then we also have full of fresh chopped basil from the garden. Now all these herbs came from my garden, the apartment garden actually. These are the dried ones, and then these were fresh from this morning. We're going to go ahead and add those to our spaghetti sauce. And stir it in there. As you can see, it's gotten pretty thick, so I'm going to turn it down to a medium low and stir this in until it gets good and blended in and get the flavors to release. You want to go ahead and get your water bath going. I've got 6 jars in here now. I'm coming to be sanitized while this is still cooking down and getting those flavors blended in. So we think we got our spaghetti sauce as thick as we like. Wish you could see the color. It's a really deep red. You might be able to see a little bit of it on here, but of course the camera doesn't do it justice. And we got our jars out and lifted. We're going to bring those over and continue on. So, go ahead and get this first jar out. Set it right there. And you know I always get 2 jars out so I can go ahead and put the funnel on the other one while we're waiting. So at this point you're going to get your lemon juice, store-bought lemon juice. You're going to add 1 tablespoon to every jar, and that will bring your acidity level up for your canning. And move that out of the way. Get our funnel on. Okay, just 1 second. Ladle. Look how nice and thick that is. Ooh, that's a hot jar. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start filling the jar to a 1/2 inch head space. And move it on over. And you're going to always wipe your rims. I got white vinegar, clean towel. And wipe the rim here. Make sure we get it good and clean. No sauce. And then I have the lids over here soaking in hot water. We're going to put that on. And add the ring. Finger tight. And you have your first jar of spaghetti sauce, or pasta sauce of any sort. We're going to go ahead and put that in the water bath. Bring another jar over. Going to add the lemon juice so we don't forget. 1 tablespoon. Put that in there so it's already done. And fill up our next jar. Now you can use these in the bigger jars, or make this with the bigger jars as well. But with just us being here, we found we really don't need a whole large jar. Wipe the rim. Put the warm lid on there. Now, according to the Ball website, you do not have to warm up the lids. I prefer to. I just think that we get a better seal that way. But to each their own. Finger tight. And another jar ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the rest of these jars, and I'll bring you back. So, as you can see, I've only got 5 pints. I went ahead and prepared a small half pint because we did not have enough sauce to make all 6 pints of the spaghetti sauce. That's because I cook it down to the way that we like it. You don't have to cook it down as much as I did. You can leave it a little more in the pot, or you can cook it down and just prepare a small jar to put it in there. So we're going to go ahead and put these in the water bath. We're going to turn on the heat to bring to a full rolling boil. Once it hits the full rolling boil, then we will start the timer for 35 minutes. And we are finished. Now they are darker than what I'm used to. This is the first time I've ever made balsamic vinegar, or put balsamic vinegar in it. But you can see all the nice chunkiness in there. Beautiful. And they've all sealed so far except for this one, which I'm sure once it cools down it will. As you can see the difference, this one is flat indented, showing that it's sealed, and this one is still popped up. In comparison, this is my spaghetti sauce from last year. In fact, almost a year ago today. But I didn't add any balsamic vinegar, so it's more red than these ones. But I tasted it and it tastes delicious, so I'm good with that. So I just want to say thank you all for joining me, and if you try this recipe, let me know how you like it. Please, if you can, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that we can share more recipes and more garden videos with you. And you can go back and look at some of the other ones too. There's lots of goodies on the contents here. And we will be having a garden video for August coming up. I believe that probably about the 3rd week of August. And thank you again. I really do appreciate you. And remember, share, share, share.